The space, again, when I designed it, it was really nice. We have a really lovely backyard, so I set it up so that I could look out over the space when I'm working. And the space is sort of divided between the area that's for enameling, and then adjacent to it is the furnace or kiln. The other toy that I've made good use of is this Leica microscope. It's been fabulous to work with. These are pieces that just never made it into anything, but I still keep them around. They act as both studies and ways for me to understand things that work or don't work. They're like sketches in many ways. I could use the enamel directly rather than going from a drawing to the enamel work. But I do a fair amount of drawing. Actually, I do a lot of drawing. It's a good part of my studio practice. And some turn into drawings that are in exhibitions. I do show the drawings with the jewelry quite often, and they sort of feed each other. They're reciprocal. They're not directional. I don't do a drawing first and it becomes a piece of jewelry, or vice versa. They're very intermittent with the enamel work and the jewelry pieces, but they're very important to me as a way of resolving ideas or instigating ideas. These are pieces that are of this past year for the most part, actually of the past week in some cases. Most of these are actually either on silver or gold, which is fairly new to me working with directly. Normally I've worked with copper and enameled with opaque enamels, and played with that as a primary way of working. So the silver and gold give me a different way of understanding how enamels work on a surface. So a pair of earrings in gold. These are mostly archived pieces that I've kept for my own collection, or other pieces that perhaps have come back from exhibitions that I haven't decided whether I'm going to hold on to them or not. And it's great having these, both for my own way of resourcing what I've done over the period of years. They act as catalysts for ways of me, just simply thinking about what works and what doesn't work. And also, I think when one goes through long periods or stretches of work, my work has never been sort of revolutionary. It's always been evolutionary. Progress or changes take place slowly. So when I go from a piece from the earlier late 1980s to a piece that was done the 1970s, and then over to some of the new pieces, I see a line of thought, and sometimes it's things that have leaped years and then the different aspects of it comes back into play. So it's nice having pieces around to remind me of that. Another lovely part of the day is around 4 o'clock on my time in the studio, sort of like is beginning to wrap up 3, 4 o'clock. So I come downstairs and start making some decisions about maybe what's for dinner. And now with this being restricted, I have time to actually make some desserts as well. So I'm making a little apple galette, and I only had a few apples, so I added some blueberries to them. Not a major improvisation, but something that rounds out the flavor of the apples. And so this is a homemade plum jam that I did a while back. So I'm just sort of using some of that as a base. You can see that. And then I'll make the galette. So I want to thank you all for coming and visiting. It was really nice to have the opportunity to do this, and I want to thank Sienna again for hosting these visits. It's a really odd time, and I hope everyone is taking care of themselves, and it'll be great to get together again somewhere, someplace. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.